Olá pessoal, eu sou o Rodrigo Polito, jornalista especializado em energia. Estamos aqui no NT2E, talvez o mais importante, de fato o mais importante evento da indústria de energia nuclear no Brasil, da indústria nuclear no Brasil, e que tradicionalmente recebe muitos convidados internacionais, como é o caso aqui que a gente está com a presença da Valérie Faudon, que é diretora executiva da Sociedade, da Associação Francesa de Energia Nuclear. E thank you so much for spend your time with us.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be here.
Nice. And it's a great opportunity to know better about nuclear industrial in France, because it's a reference for all of us. So I know that's your first time in Brazil for business, and I would like to know how are you seeing the opportunities of business and growing nuclear energy sector in Brazil.
So I was very happy because I visited the Angra plant yesterday, and I know it was in a beautiful place, and I can confirm, and it was a very impressive visit. Yeah. So I think the place where we can really collaborate is on energy policy and planning, because I think it's very important for countries to understand the role that nuclear can play in reaching goals in terms of net zero, decarbonization goals, as well as energy security. Because to reach our goals, we will need a lot of low carbon electricity. And I know Brazil has a lot of low carbon electricity already, but according to the International Energy Agency, we will need to double our production of low carbon electricity by 2050.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and I know you are here talking about opportunities in thermonuclear sector. And last year, the European Commission decided to consider nuclear energy as clean energy, and I wonder how much investments and funding could be received by nuclear sector because of this decision.
So that was a very important decision, because for the first time the European Commission recognized the role of nuclear to reach our goals. And in Europe, half of the countries are pro-nuclear and half of the countries are against nuclear. So that was really a victory for the nuclear sector. But it's not enough. Right now, there are lots of different legislations that is going through the European Commission and European Parliament, and every one is a battle. For instance, there was one on hydrogen. What defines clean hydrogen? So some people say it's renewable hydrogen only, and other people say, well, no, nuclear is also low carbon hydrogen. So for every item we have to fight. But now we are a coalition of 14 countries out of 27 that think that the future is both nuclear and renewables. So we're fighting together to go through all this legislation. Yeah.
Nice. And what we need to approve in Europe so far to put in practice this new policy and we can see in practice the growth of nuclear energy in Europe?
So theoretically, according to the treaties, energy policy is a national policy. No. But we know that for lots of different subjects, we have to collaborate. For instance, right now we're discussing the organization of the market, a new market design, because we've seen our design was fragile after the gas crisis we had last year. And so for all these policies that bring benefits, because of course, exchanging electricity, importing, exporting contributes to the European security of supply. But we need to agree on rules. And there are lots of subject matters right now that are going to be discussed, like state aid for strategic low carbon technologies, market design, definition and standards about what is clean hydrogen. So lots of things happening right now.
Nice.
It's very busy.
Yes. And you talked about energy crisis.
Yeah.
And something that we saw related to energy crisis was the energy price went up a lot last year. And I wonder if nuclear energy could be competitive in this scenario. So I think nuclear energy can play a great role in this regard, trying to making energy less expensive.
Yes, we can, because first we have the existing fleet, which produces at a very low cost, and the new fleet, so the new reactors, of course we need to build them faster and so forth, but they have a lot of value in a system with a lot of variable renewables, because they're dispatchable. So they're bringing a lot of value in the system, and they help bring down systems cost. So we need to have a market design that recognizes the value of nuclear, the fact that it's low carbon. So in France, we have the ETS system, which is like a big carbon tax. So nuclear is valued for being low carbon versus gas and versus coal. But we don't have a system to recognize the long-term impact of nuclear in terms of increasing the stability of the electricity system and increasing the security of supply. So we need to have a market design that recognizes this long-term value and is able to provide investors with visibility on revenues, so that they need to have and also decrease the market risk for them, the project risk, so that we can have low-cost financing and in the end very competitive electricity. But I think we need to change the paradigm. We need to think in terms of a total system cost, and also we need to think in terms of system resilience, because I think for the last 12 months now, people have understood that energy is very important. And it's the basis for not only households, but also for the competitiveness of the industry.
Exactly, and I think in this energy crisis, people saw how energy is so basic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had forgotten it, because it was there, so we didn't know we couldn't.
Yeah.
There could be a lack of it. Yeah.
In your opinion, which is the main challenge for nuclear energy nowadays? You said about market design. Do you think public opinion is still
So public opinion has changed a lot.
Exactly.
There's really been a turnaround. Public opinion is very positive now in Europe, even in countries that were very anti-nuclear, like Germany. So it's changed a lot. So we have to be careful because it can change back. So we have to be extremely careful about that. But I think right now the challenge for us now that the decision is being taken is really to be successful at building the projects, conducting the projects. So most of the attention now is on getting organized, getting ready, and being able to manage the project in a very effective manner.
Nice. And we talked about Germany, and how not specifically Germany, but how the French experience can help other countries to develop nuclear energy.
So it's very important, first because I think we went through a political process that lasted several years, where we managed to at least get together and share data and look at the scenarios and see different trajectories and kind of pick up together a trajectory that was very robust. Right now we know that we need to build a lot of renewables, we need to build a lot of nuclear, and we need to invest in energy efficiency, and we need the three to be successful, but if one is not there, then the other one can help. So we know that we need to try everything because the challenge is so big for us to meet the climate goals and the energy demand. So I think we can share that because I think it's been an experience. Lots of countries have gone through similar, very positive policy experience, like the UK, for instance. They had a very good debate about nuclear, and somehow what's happening in the United States is very interesting as well. And the second thing is that today we are the only country in Europe with a full supply chain to be able to build new reactors. So I think in terms of the building of a European supply chain and a worldwide nuclear supply chain, we can bring a lot. because we are undergoing a major transformation of our supply chain and to build it back again. So it's being really able to build in an industrial manner new reactors. Yes.
Nice. And going abroad, Europe, talking about Brazil, we are facing a very interesting moment in Brazil. There are some, we hope that we can conclude Angra 3 project, but there are a lot of projects. There are some forecasts about new power plants in Brazil, a national nuclear program for Brazil. And you talked about a very important issue, that is the supply chain, and how France can help Brazil in this regard.
Yeah, I think you need a vision on what you want to achieve, right? And what's really important, I've learned from the French experience, is that you need to build continuously. So you need to have a program. So you see from now on until 2050 what you have to achieve, so that the whole Brazilian supply chain can organize, right? And of course you will need partners when you need them. But I think it's very important. And what we're seeing in France is that building back or consolidating our nuclear sector also helps other industries, right? Because a lot of supply chain, we share it with other industries. And so what we're doing, for instance, in forging or being component is going also to have effects on other sectors. So I think I think you have to go through this planning and get out of this stop and go. Start, of course, with Angra, but have visibility then on the long time period. And I think it's better to be slow but never get interrupted, right? Than to go for one project and then stop completely, because other people change jobs and they disappear and you lose what you've just learned. I think it's very important to build in a continuous manner. And I think you're a very big country, you're a very big international, industrial country. So I think we need Brazil to be part of the worldwide supply chain.
Nice, I couldn't agree more. Just two more questions. One of them, as we said, about supply chain. Also, I think about jobs.
Yeah.
How many jobs we can create if we put in practice this nuclear program in Brazil, for instance?
So one thing we noticed, and I don't know it's the same in Brazil, is that industry had started to have a bad image. Like people were thinking about industry as like it was in the 19th century, but it would be dirty, or that the job will not be interesting. And they haven't realized how much industry has changed. It's clean, it's modernized, it's got lots of robots, it's got a lot of information technology. And also that we need to attract young women to the industry, because we're missing a big chunk of the workforce. And also technical jobs, they're now really interesting. We're talking about the welders. The welders, you need 5 years to train a good welder. And they may make actually a lot of money because they're really scarce. So we need to make young people understand that, and the families as well. To build back this strong workforce. And because I know in France we had become really a service industry, and we realized after COVID that now there are stuff we were not making anymore, like medication. And now we're trying to identify what are the strategic sectors when we need to have local industrial capability. And nuclear is, of course, a key one.
Very nice. And the last question, that in fact I think it should be the first question, but I want to give to our audience the picture of what is nuclear sector in France. How many gigawatts do you have there in operation, and what the plans for the future?
So we have about 61 gigawatts of nuclear. We have 56 units, and it makes about 70% of our electricity. We are the third industrial sector behind aerospace and automotive sectors. And we have 3,000 companies working for nuclear and 220,000 employees. Yeah.
Wow.
And we're a highly skilled sector. The level of education in the sector is extremely high. And we are really happy because with a new announcement, now we have a big future and everybody is really excited, even if there are challenges ahead, but we'll make it.
Very nice. Amazing numbers. And I wonder what is the key role that this industry plays in GDP, French GDP?
It's about 45 billion in GDP, yeah. But the effect is not only the sector, the effect is having, cheap, reliable electricity. And actually we are we're a think tank, so we're trying to make a lot of studies. And one of our next studies is the effect of energy on the GDP, because we think we need to do more economic studies to demonstrate how important this is. And it's difficult to attract, for instance, a foreign investor if you cannot give them a predictable price of electricity, especially now because industry is going to be very electrified. And for some industries, it's a big share of the cost of producing, like aluminum, for instance. And so it's very important that we're able to provide that if we want to attract industries and highly skilled jobs. And so it should be a key focus for country policy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just loved our last commentary because we know how important is energy price for industry.
Yeah.
For the competitivity. So it's very important. Your comments. Well, we could stay here for all of the day, but
yeah. It's a very interesting subject.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much, Valérie.
Thank you very much for the invitation again.
Okay.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Obrigado, pessoal. Já a gente volta com mais entrevistas aqui do NT2E. Tchau, tchau.